Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Retention Chronicles. Anthony, thank you so much for joining us today. I am so ecstatic and excited to finally get to interview you. You were flexible with the webinar that we ran today, so thank you. Wanted to make sure I share my appreciation. If you could start off with sharing a little bit more about yourself and your brand, that would be amazing.
For sure. Thank you for having me, Mariah. It's one of those. It's a pleasure to talk about our business, and it's a real passion of ours. So here we go. My name is Anthony. I'm one of four co-founders of Manmade, where we are originally a boxer brief brand and morphed into a men's essentials brand. Um, so I was a banker. I was in finance. I was in retail banking. Then I went into corporate banking, aka private banking. And so were my friends. So both Robert, Berto, and Phil were all in finance. Berto's actually a CPA. Rob was an investment banker, and Phil was in real estate. So all in finance, but we had a common entrepreneurial itch that needed scratching. So we always kept in touch, and we always knew that we wanted to start a business, but we didn't know what. So long story short, the four buddies that we started to think about different problems that we could solve. And the one problem that we were very passionate about was how um, boxer briefs in general were not comfortable and very confusing at times when you go online. And let's say you want to make an investment on a good pair of boxer briefs, you didn't know where to start, you didn't know what all these fabrics were, and it was just very overwhelming and confusing. So we decided to go on a 10-month journey to basically produce the best boxer brief. I know we're biased, but
But you're allowed to be, you know?
exactly the best boxer brief. It's made of modal fabric. Modal fabric. When we were actually testing different boxer briefs and in the R&D stages, as soon as I put it on, the other three guys, it was like magical. We saw that, for example, that fabric in particular, which sell for $35 to $40 a pair for our competitors, and we're like, that's a little steep on the price point, and we dug deeper to understand why. And then we understood that, okay, we want to build a brand that we love, in the sense where it makes sense to us as well as for men. So our brand is very focused on function over fast fashion. So we eliminated the prints, the colors, we eliminated all the noise, and we just built a boxer brief that is quality, comfortable, and functional. And then we soon realized, once we went to market, that there's a need for other products like t-shirts, socks, soap. And this is where our mission is, to build a brand, to take on the big corporations and build a brand that men need and deserve. And how we plan on doing that is, providing men with the quality essentials they need without the BS they don't.
Love it. You got it down packed.
Yeah.
Very, very helpful summary or overview for our audience. There's a lot of questions that were popping up as you were giving it. So I feel like you probably get this all the time, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Founding a brand with four of you, did you naturally find that like each of you had your own strong suit, or it was like everything all four of you were trying to tackle together?
So at the beginning, it was all four of us tackling everything together. It was definitely a team effort. We don't have any experience in apparel. We did have experience in e-com. When we left the finance world, the banking world, we all jumped into another world called payment processing, primarily for e-commerce businesses. We did that as brokers for about a year, and that's another story on its own. But that's where we learned a lot of like our skill sets and how we work well together. But yeah, so we had no experience in apparel whatsoever. So we needed to learn from the bottom up. We needed to learn what a tech pack was, what fabrics were, why the fabric is like. There was a lot of learning, and we did that all together. But then, in the process of the R&D and the development and building of the brand and building, the visible and invisible elements of the brand, we all kind of like attracted to parts of the business where our strong suits were were best fit. And that's why, like for now, like for example, you have Rob in the media buying side of things. You have Berto in technology and finance. You have Phil when it comes to operations, And then you have myself, where customer experience PR, where we naturally just fit, right? So we always knew we had like skills that complemented one another, and we always knew that we had like skill sets or values and beliefs that were the same. So we knew if we put the four heads together, we would be able to go four times faster rather than four times slower. Because if you have four partners that don't see eye to eye, and it's like it's just always an argument, and then there's no one that's pulling things in the right direction, or a north star that we all have like a vision towards, and we're all on the same page, you can go four times slower. But we always say, we want to go four times faster. And I mean, the proof's in the pudding. It's been 2 years since we've been in business. We've sold over, well, we have like we've done over 120,000 orders. We have about 90,000 customers. We've sold over, I would say, 400,000 boxer briefs alone.
Wow.
So we've grown, right? We've grown. We've hit our targets. We're going the right directions, and we're very ambitious and bullish on the future.
I love it. That was a great answer to my question. Do you get asked that a lot or?
Yeah, all the time,
Okay. Love it. That's
all the
why it's
time.
such a good answer. Knew it. And then you mentioned that for a while, like while you all were trying to find how you were gonna fill the entrepreneurial itch that you had, that there were other ideas that you were looking into or other things that you were trying to solve. Do you remember? And can you share
Yeah,
any of those ideas?
yeah. So we had a whiteboard. So the story goes that we decided to go 3 days up north, lock ourselves there. We watched a bunch of videos on direct to consumer companies and understanding the marketing or voice. But then we realized, let's build a brand that we love, and I'm sure, let's build, and then they will come, right? Let's build and they will come. So we had that whiteboard, and we had like hundreds of ideas. And actually, one of the ideas was like a portable tattoo machine. Basically, like, you
Wow.
don't have a permanent tattoo. It's like it lasts for a year. And guess what? There's a company called Inkbox, and sold for, I don't quote me on this, but I think like 100 million not too long ago. So that was like maybe a pretty good idea. And then there was we're really big on chlorophyll, but it
Mm.
only comes in liquid form. It's very stainy, and like you have to drink a lot of water, which is great. But then we said maybe a chlorophyll gummy, and that was another one. Then there was we joked around a lot, but like, gloves for when you use like peanuts at the bar,
Oh
right? So
my
like
God,
so
that's
like you let
hilarious.
there was a bunch. I can't really think of them all right now. Those were a couple. There was a portable ultrasound machine. So I don't know. Don't ask me why. I guess we're all in the process of having children. So this is it, and building our families. But yeah, there was a lot. There was a lot of, oh yeah, silicone watches. That was another
Mm.
one. So a nice designer silicone watch, so that it's not leather, where the leather, when you sweat in it, it smells and all that stuff. So a nice watch. But then we always deviated towards the boxer brief because it just made sense for the four of us, and it was something that we were very passionate about.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, makes sense. Thank you for sharing all of those. I love hearing
Of
just different ideas. I was part of a post grad program that was entrepreneurial in spirit, and so um, hearing people's ideas and just seeing what problems people are trying to solve is always fascinating. Um, and then the other question that I had before we get into all the branding, marketing, customer experience side of things was you said like during the research while you were looking into like your manufacturers, the tech pack, all of that. You were digging deeper into finding out why competitors had a steeper price and I wanted to dig into that a little bit. Like what did you find? Why was it because of the patterns like that okay, so like the stylistic reasons was why they were
Yeah,
higher.
so a lot of companies focus on fast fashion.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens there is that you have to invest in many different colors, patterns, SKUs. So if you think of a warehouse space, right, you have so much more to invest in, and then whatever fast fashion is trending that quarter doesn't sell, well, then you got to do the discount sales, and then you got to play that game.
Mm-hmm.
Where we were like, we're not so down to be these fashionistas, where it's like, we just want to build like men just want,
The
look at each other.
basics.
Men just want, give me something good quality, super comfortable. and easy, and they're happy. So that's literally the recipe. So we said to ourselves, our competitors are selling it so much higher because of those reasons. Why don't we pass that savings to our customer, and they'll be happy, it'll be a win-win, and we could still make the business work.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Now with, what you just said with wanting just good quality product, it's very top of mind for me right now because do you listen to the Limited Supply
Yeah,
podcast?
I do. I
So,
haven't been as religious, but I love Moise and I love the brand he's built. And my partner Berto listens to it religiously. But we actually got on a 15 or 20-minute call with Moise about 6 months ago,
oh, look at that.
just or more, yeah, a little bit more, just to ask him a few questions.
Mm-hmm.
He's done it. He's done what we're trying to do. So
Yeah.
we asked a few questions. And it was very insightful. It was helpful.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear it. I love the ecom community just being ever so, every day it feels like it gets smaller, which I personally love because I thrive in that.
For sure.
Um and so it's very top of mind for me right now because I think it's yesterday's episode, which note we're recording this on October 19th. But it won't be released for about a month. So I think it's episode 11 of their fifth season. I will fact check that, but um they were talking about like when you're just launching a brand, um, if like having a good product is table stakes or if it's like good marketing, right? So like kind of like good product versus good marketing versus having both for being able to like launch your brand into really high scale growth. So what's your opinion on that? Do you feel like there is like good product versus good marketing versus both? Or yeah, what's kind of your thoughts? What's your breakdown there?
Kind of cool you just mentioned that because when we launched, we started with 10,000 black boxer briefs, and that same design or that exact same boxer brief that we launched with is not the boxer brief that we're selling today, right? It's
Interesting.
very
Okay, yeah.
it's similar, but
But tweaked, I imagine.
yeah, the tweaked exactly to make it better. And I would say it's a mix of both. I mean, when we launched, we believed it was the best, right? So we spent a year. Like you have to put things in perspective, guys. Like a year working on a product, you just can't wait to get to market, right? You're just bleeding month after month, and it's like you need to get
Mm-hmm.
to market, and we want to make it perfect. And we only come out with one boxer brief, so it needs to be sticky, and it needs to be good. So if anybody launching, I would say make it as best as you can, back it up with obviously good marketing, and then get that data, and then do what you have to do with that data,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah,
So
test iterations. Yep.
yeah, analysis by paralysis type of
Mm-hmm.
thing you don't want to happen because then you'll never get anywhere. So you might think something's perfect, but what really matters is what the mass thinks. So
Mm-hmm.
get to market, like do your absolute best, get to market, and then you know if you need to make some tweaks with the data that you receive, make the tweaks and just keep on building on that. And eventually you'll get it where you need it to be. And even for us, like we have a super great product at this point. But the reason, the fact that we don't have multiple SKUs or products allows us to every PO make our product 1% better,
Mm,
right? We don't look at it like, okay, we got it where we want, with the retentions where we want it, customers are happy, it's going well. Now how can we cut costs? That's
right.
not that's not the angle we go. We go more like, okay, great, but now in order for us to keep being competitive, we need to keep gathering that data, having a close ear to the ground, which we do very much so. It's literally the reason why I believe we're succeeding. And whatever data we're receiving, we need to cater to our customer, right? So at the end of the day, we're building a brand, like I said earlier, that we love and we do, and that it's a brand that we see ourselves. It's reflective of us. However, we're building a brand for our customers, right? So we need to listen to them in order for us to do that properly.
Yeah.
So to answer your question in short, I would say both is important, but don't get to the point where you're paralyzed with all the analytics that you're doing.
Well, this is a podcast, so we can make it as long as
Yeah.
answers as we want. I appreciate you kind of entertaining that thought there, because it's something that's been very top of mind. I always love talking about just product versus marketing versus the two. And so along with like the product itself being tweaked and reiterated on, I imagine, did you like after listening to consumer data, did you tweak the packaging as well?
The packaging, yes, actually, when we first started, we had a lot of like on our apparel bag, not the actual apparel, not the bag, not the apparel bag that the boxer brief is packaged in, but more so the apparel bag that we package the order in, right?
Mm,
So that we
yep.
ship to the customer. That one was a little bit more on a like very raw, and it said like words like raw, brotherhood, respect, like all our core values, no bullshit, right? So like very loud, very very in your face, you know. And now our packaging is like quality essentials without the BS, like it's more
Mm,
clean, it's more man-made, but it was more so the boxer brief itself. I remember when we launched, um, I called 1,200 customers from the first 10,000 pairs we've launched, and they were either friends and family, strangers, people from out west, east, everywhere. And I would stay like 5-10 minutes on the phone, and I would have a few questions, and I would start off by saying, my name is Anthony, I'm one of the co-founders. Just want to, say thank you for your support. It means the world to us. We're really trying to build a brand that men need and deserve. And in order for us to do that, we need to have honest feedback from you. You just recently made an order with us. Can you please, give me some information on the product itself, how you heard about us first, what you liked, what you want to see different, um, and they went on. A lot of people said they loved it, but then a lot of people said, oh, maybe the band could be a little tighter. Maybe the material could be a little thicker. Maybe the pouch could be a little bigger. And then we collected that data so much so that on the next PO, we made the little tweaks, and then it was fire from then. Then after that, we just really took off.
I love that. I'm blanking on who kind of has this thought, but just like the fact of once, if you ask people for your help, or if you ask people for their help, usually most are willing to offer it, especially, if you're taking the time to call them. And so, yeah, I love that you're hearing directly from your consumers and that, can you give me feedback and get all those little iterations to develop on. I think that sets us up nicely to talk about branding. As you mentioned, the packaging changing and like the branding, it's still obviously man-made as a brand, but like tweaking the packaging just to fit better with what you all were going for. So can you tell our audience kind of what is the goal? What all how all are you trying to message to your consumers? Because I have an impression that I want to share, but I want to hear what you would say first.
Um, so you're saying like with all the packaging and the type of marketing we do, what's the story we're trying to tell?
Yeah. Yeah. Like through your brand, if someone were to come across man-made and like what do you want them to associate, I guess, with man-made?
Well, you want to associate that we're four best friends, four men that quit everything in order for us to build a brand that men need and deserve, and we mean that. Like, if you look at our products, if you look at our branding, if you look at our packaging, it literally screams simplicity, comfort, quality. Like when you get the packaging, when you feel the material, when you put them on, when you go on our website, when you see our content, you can see that rawness. You can see that we are that David and Goliath story. Our competitors in the space aren't small, and they've been around a long time. So we're up for a very big fight, right? So in order for us to take some of that market share, so that's the story. We want to have, fans. A good friend of mine who's building another incredible business here in Montreal. His name is Jay Carls from Midday Squares. He's his famous quote, and I love it because it's exactly how I see it too. Build fans, not customers, right?
Mm,
Right?
yep.
Build fans, and that's what we're trying to do. We have this rule where 7% of your total customer base are fans, are like diehard, they'll be with you forever as long as you treat them well. And the goal is to get to 18,000 of those, right? And once you're at 18,000 of those customers, we believe you have a business that's healthy enough to take any recession, inflation, any economic downturns, and you'll be able to survive, and build that brand. So we're not far from there, but we're not there yet. And we're very and I think being an entrepreneur, staying paranoid, on your toes, and being a bit of a worrywart is part of the job. Some of us in the group are less like that, but we all carry that DNA. However, it's important because you can't for a second take your pedal off the gas, because when you do, that's when issues start. So,
Start
so
to
to answer
falter.
your, yeah, exactly. So to answer your question, it's that rawness, that brotherhood, that work ethic, fun, and respect that we wanna always have as core values. And it really speaks to people, right? Especially with the marketing that we put out there, it's very different, um, and the customer experience, right? So it's not only about when you acquire the customer and then you send them the product and it's over, right? It's all the it's I think that's when it starts,
Hmm.
really, right?
Yep.
Because CAC isn't like customer acquisition costs aren't cheap all the time, and it's rarely cheap, to be honest. And when you have that customer, you need to give him your heart and soul, because if you don't, well, there's so much competition. Why would he stay with you, right? So
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. There's actually some crazy stat that our director of partnerships loves to share, and hope I don't butcher it, but something like, I think it was in 2019 or 2013, CAC was on average like, I think $9 a person, and now it's up to like $29 a person. And so for most people whose AOV isn't extremely high, you're not really making is not making sense to have, acquire a customer and then not be putting enough attention to retaining them, because you're not, making that profit off of a first time buyer a lot of the times. um, so I love that you called attention to that.
yeah, so like for us, we definitely want to run a business that is not bleeding, and it's important for us to at least break even when we acquire a new customer. But you are right, like 2015, I guess, not even 2012, 2015, those days of like 5x ROAS is over. If you're
Yeah.
at if you're at 2 or 3, you're really good, and that's where we hover around. Um, if
Awesome.
your CAC is anywhere like at 50% on your first order of your average order, well, you have enough maybe wiggle room for cogs and shipping in there, and then you could probably break even or make a little bit of money. But yeah, regardless, you need to make sure that when you acquire that customer, you take good care of them, because
Mhm.
especially in our business, it's not a big ticket item where you buy it once and then you forget it. It's literally like every time they need underwear, socks, t-shirts, or soap, where are they going, right?
Quite
So we
literally
want
everyday essentials. Yeah.
exactly. So
Yes.
you need to cater that, and you need to nurture that, and it's an art, I believe.
Yes. And with the kind of the picture that you painted, with your branding of like the brotherhood, respect, but still having fun. I, of course, for the podcast, have to scour your guys' site, and found the Gentlemen's Club, which is you all sharing, just like tips and tricks and information around a whole slew of things, um, that men would particularly be interested in learning about. So I wanted to ask, like, why was that important for you all to have on your site? In post purchase, obviously, we see like education is a big part of what you want your consumers to be looking at while they're waiting for the product and while they're getting their product and experiencing it. But what was the thought process behind having it be in your site, accessible, and also like fun as well, to aid in that brand awareness?
Yeah, so I would say like at the beginning stages, we had a year in development, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, we are finance guys. We had a lot of learning to do ourselves. So the way we saw it was this blog or this content, let's do the research and let's give it to the guys on a silver platter. It's a little bit of that locker room talk where not everybody's comfortable talking about certain things like chafing or toenails or hygiene or whatever is on our blog, right? So for us, it's like, okay, whenever we're doing research on fabrics and whatever, let's put it out on paper so that if ever someone wants to educate themselves, it's there and it's easy to read and consume where an everyday guy can do that. You don't need to have a PhD in apparel to understand what we're saying. So this way they know that they're buying a product or into a brand that's done their research for them, right? It's part of the whole thing about providing men with the essentials they need without the BS they don't. Like, do you need all the different colors? Probably not. Maybe some people like to express themselves a bit different. But if that's the case, we're not for you. If you're
Mm-hmm.
looking for something that makes sense, that's, functional, well, we're the brand for you. And we want to make sure that we give you as much education as possible. It kind of like also morphed into different things. Then, we like to do that jab, jab, right hook type of mentality. Jab, jab is like give value to the customer. And then right hook is ask for something, a sale of some sort. um, we have content constantly being done at the office. We started a YouTube channel. We have a monthly vlog that basically allows customers who are fans or who are rooting for us, who want to know the development of the brand. They have literally videos and recaps of the month before, what happened in that month, some things we overcame, some milestones we hit, and all four of the co-founders partake in this vlog so that you feel something as a consumer to Manmade. You're like, I feel like I'm a part of this journey. As co-founders, when we first started, we had models, right?
Mm-hmm.
That were doing the acting, that were doing the modeling, and being frugal co-founders and not having an abundance of capital to start, it's an expensive expenditure. So what we did was we decided, you know what, we're gonna do it ourselves. We're gonna do our own ads. We're gonna do our own modeling. We're four guys. Like, why should we pay someone else? And in this day and age, someone with a six pack and all that, like, it's just like whatever. Like, we're not even like that. Never attracted me to underwear. Like, I want to look like that guy. Like, I wasn't that. That's more of, I think, the fashion side of things. It
Mm-hmm.
was more like, function, comfort. So we ended up starting to do that, and that's when we realized we had something special because the feedback from our consumers, from our communities, were fantastic. They loved it, right? They knew we
Yeah.
were the co-founders, and we're not hiding behind our product. We're front and center, right? And if you DM us, if you message us, if you email us, we're answering. Like, I'm very active on the community. So are the other partners. Obviously, we're growing more and more and more, but I'm always checking like multiple times a day the DMs and the emails and anything that has to do with customer touch points.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I think there's I feel like for ecom in general, having a face of the brand is one of those things that's maybe, yeah, it's more specific, I feel like, to D2C sales. Because you're exactly right, like the inaccessibility to relate to wherever you're buying from, if it was like department stores, like typical retail, um, then yeah, you have models. But in something where you have a founder leading, the marketing initiatives, in addition to there being cost savings, um, I think consumers like seeing the founders and having a real face of the brand, like you said. Um,
They also find
and
it comedic, right? It's like
yeah. Hmm.
it's what's the word that someone used? Um, Not unapologetic. Anyways, I can't remember it now.
Authentic, or
Authentic, yes, but anyway, basically like we're putting ourselves out there,
mm,
right? Like
yep,
it's we're putting ourselves out there. We're in underwear. We're grown ass men. Like, we're all married. Like,
humbling, yeah.
yeah. It's like, okay, like, if these guys are crazy enough to do that, let's try these things,
Mm.
right? And then you try them, you're like, holy shit, these are amazing,
You're like, I'm
right?
about to go join them in these videos.
Yeah. So that's really rewarding, and it really gives us the energy and the positivity to continue doing it. Like, the dream is to set up the company and the enterprise in a way where it's fully functional, right? There's a difference between being self-employed and an entrepreneur, a business owner. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're self-employed, like you're creating a job for yourself. If you're a business owner, you got to create an entity where it's running, although you're not there,
Mm-hmm.
without you being there. The goal is to build this company to run with upper management and to have different segments of the company running smoothly, but as one. But the four co-founders, focus primarily on just content. Like we
Yeah.
like brainstorming content, we like shooting content, we like coming up with ideas. And to be frank, like four finance guys, like they don't seem to be, when you look at it from like an outsider's perspective, not now, but maybe then, or ourselves even, right? We'd be like, are we that creative bunch, or we're better with numbers and all that stuff? So we realize that we do have a knack for it. Some can say it's cheesy, corny, whatever it is, but it works, and we find it very natural for us to do what we do, especially with the way we put ourselves out there. So it works. It's easy. We enjoy it, and it doesn't feel like work. So I think that's succeeding, right? So at least every single day you get up and you're doing what you love. So who can ask for better?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would say it's working just based off the numbers that you dropped at the top of the call. And then as well, yeah, being able to create like funny ads and content so that you all can show off Manmade. And I so in addition to like those ads and the videos that you all are creating with your vlog and YouTube, how else are you all getting in front of customers? Like social
Uh,
media? Is it
Yeah.
okay?
So primarily we scale our business using Facebook, Instagram. So
Mm-hmm.
Meta is definitely like driver of where we get our new acquisitions. However, it's hand in hand with a lot of PR, hand in hand with with interviews, let's say on CTV, on global news all across Canada, US, radio hosts, newspaper articles. Like we try to at the beginning, in order for us to sell those first 10,000 pairs, we didn't use Facebook. Like it was no acquisitions by paid media. It was really like guerrilla marketing, getting out there, social media, but like organic. It was really trying to make sure that we don't put ourselves in a hole before even starting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then throughout that process, we're testing certain ads. We're seeing what's working, what's not working, what's our CAC. Is it scalable? Is it not scalable? Before before putting the pedal to the metal on that front. But yeah, so I would say like 90% is Facebook Meta, and then the other is like PR based, which goes hand in hand. You have Google as well. We're trying other like TikTok, Pinterest. Like there's a couple of other platforms that we're always looking on trying to see if there's something there. But I would say primarily it's Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you found just it might be preliminary, but we haven't had many brands on this podcast kind of bring up Pinterest as an area of interest. Are there any like early learnings or anything you can share with our audience of, what that's
We're
looking like for you all?
we're just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't give you data on that. However, you didn't mention limited supply. That's something we learned on that podcast, where it did really well
Yeah.
for Moise. And I can see why. Many people get inspired to go buy, especially for gift giving, right on the corner. So people like to get inspired on that, and why not be there? And
Mm-hmm.
if return on investment is good, well, it's a great it's a great place to go and acquire new customers. So definitely, we're giving it a shot, and maybe the next time we speak, I can give you more data on that.
I was gonna say we'll have you back on and you'll give us an update all about Pinterest and other things that are going on. That yeah, I was curious if you heard it from there or from somewhere else. Um and like gift giving, especially around the holidays, because we're obviously approaching Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Super Bowl of ecom. So I feel like with gift giving, like as you were speaking. A lot of people, typical, it's like, oh, what'd you get for Christmas? Like in my stocking, it's like socks and underwear, right? But if it's like your typical um pair or your traditional pair versus a man-made pair where you're like, oh, this is like really good quality, I see a lot of opportunity in that. So it makes sense that you all would want to be popping up on Pinterest to maybe get those inspiration boards.
Definitely. I mean, gift giving is, Q4 is where we make most of our year. And Q4 is where 90% of our sales is from women buyers. So we know it's going as a gift. And we also learned we would think at the beginning, I'm sure women are annoyed having to buy underwear for their men, their sons or whatever. They actually enjoy it. We did a survey,
Oh wow.
and we surveyed quite a bit of people, and it's like their way of like showing their love and affection, taking care of the people in their life, the men in their life. So they actually really really enjoy it. So when it comes to targeting on marketing side, definitely there's many times we speak to women rather than only to men.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that too. The way we do things also on that front is really like raw. Like it's rare you're going to see a polished ad. I mean, now we're kind of starting. They kind of work, some of them depending, but it's more at like bottom of funnel. Top of funnel, you're looking at like something like a funny comedic skit of some sorts where we're solving the problem, but it's less on the sales side. And what's also working is our story. Our story is pretty compelling. Four best friends who leave the finance world to start an underwear company. Like, who does that? It kind of draws people in, and then when they look into our site and our products, they give us a shot, and I'm very happy to say like they don't regret it, and that's really rewarding. I would be having a different sentiment about my business if customers were not happy with it. I'm very proud to say that in most, if not all, like very rarely do I have customers tell me it doesn't work out, and if it doesn't, it's for reasons that are out of our control, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't make everybody happy. That's something that we learned pretty early in the game. But as long as like 90 plus, 95 plus are happy, I think you're doing a good job. And if you look at your retention and how many people come back, that's a good measure for us to also see if our product is a good product. It's a product that is part of the household brands that are being consumed every day. And we're very happy to say that it is, right? So if you want some numbers on that, our first time buyer, uh, so as a first time buyer, 35% come back within 3 months, and a little over 50% come back after 12 months. We want to get those numbers as high as possible, but in the grand scheme of things, we have a pretty healthy business, and it works. Many times people don't buy underwear every year either, right? So it could be they make a bigger purchase and then they come back a year and a half later, or someone bought it for a gift and it's now not being purchased by Mariah anymore. Mariah's significant other is buying it, right? So you don't have exactly the same people coming back, because sometimes, like I said, Q4 it's gift giving, but it's really good, and we're really happy about that.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you for sharing the numbers. Always love to hear about retention. Obviously, this podcast is called Retention Chronicles.
Yeah.
Um, so can that's a perfect segue to dive into like what you all specifically are doing for retention. So, like post purchase, I know we you had said at some point during this call, like that's so important, the interactions between your customer while they're waiting for their product and while they have it. So if we could touch upon that, and then anything else you all are doing to get those impressive numbers for retention would be amazing. Love to hear about it.
Yeah, so when somebody purchases, so first things first, you get on our site. It's super easy to navigate, to the point, and that's really important for us. When we first started, our customer that we thought was going to be our main, like our age demo was going to be like 30ish. It ended up being that it's a bit on the 45, 50 plus, where the majority meat and potatoes come from. And that being said, a lot of that generation is comfortable purchasing online, however, from Amazon, right? So if they're purchasing from you and you're using a courier that is not as recognized, well, that's a little weird. And then, for example, if it's taking more than one business day to get to their home, where they're used to with Amazon, well, they're going to write into you and they're going to clog your customer service. emails and channels. So what we did was we have like post purchase checkpoints. Your order is being thank you for your order. You have an order confirmation email. Your order is being packed. Your order just left the warehouse. It's in transit, and it's arrived. And you have emails throughout, and customers love that. When they receive it, it's well packaged, premium packaging. Obviously, the materials is premium. Everything feels and is nice. You get a handwritten card, depending if it's your first, second, third, fourth, and it's always different. It's handwritten, specifically to the customer. We have an email campaign that basically keeps the customer educated on the brand. Like I said earlier, the behind the scenes, and how we're growing our brand, how we're taking on the big corporations, and also you have myself that will reach out, a couple of weeks after you purchase to ask how you like the product, and I read pretty much every email to make sure that our customers are happy, or I try to. I mean, now at this point, it's gotten to a point where it's really overwhelming, but
A
I
lot of
do try
emails, I'm
to.
sure.
Yeah. So yeah, so we do that. Whenever somebody reaches out on any of our platforms, it's sometimes we'll write to you. Sometimes I'll take my phone. Hey, it's Anthony. Hope all is well. Thank you so much for your interest. If you want to mix your 7 pack with different sizes or colors, make your order and email us, and we'll take care of the rest. We're very hands on that. We have a customer service line you can call, right? So it's not just by email. You can call in and speak to a co-founder. You can call in and speak to our customer experience agent, right? That is well trained and that understands the brand and always wants to find the solution for the customer rather than get them off the phone. Um, from the top of my head, that's a lot of them, but it all falls on, I don't want to. I'll quote him. Like I love the Four Seasons. Is he Sharp, the owner of Four Seasons, and the golden rule. Do by others how you would want things to be done for yourself. So that's how I enjoy, dealing with different brands, dealing with different services. I enjoy good service, right? I enjoy a good experience. I think that is lacking in today's world. And one thing that when we started this brand is we want to be direct to consumer. We don't want to go into retail. However, we want that retail experience, to be felt on an online world. So that is something we hold dear to our hearts. This is something that I hold dear to my heart, and we will continue doing that at scale.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's also very specific to know like retail is not where you all want to go. I would assume as a founder you could try and be pulled in different directions or try and pursue both. And then that, you know, from what I've heard from other founders who have both, um, just seems like a even bigger whirlwind to try and tackle both and have two different strategies.
We have we've been approached by big players, and we've sat in a room and said, look, we could probably move a lot more product. We can grow faster, but that's a business and a beast on its own.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, staying focused on our game plan and being able to give our all on the direct to consumer side of things is first. Let's build that well, like the
Mm-hmm.
best. Then we'll worry about, because look, retail sales, physical retail sales is 80% of consumer behavior. Like customers go into shops still. Yes, COVID, swayed the numbers a little. You can go out, no kidding. You're gonna start shopping online. But now that things are opening up again, I think it's still 80% or somewhere really ridiculously high. Still shop physically in retail shops, but we could build a pretty healthy business, right, online, and it also helps us control the customer experience. I don't have control over how certain salespeople or people that work in retail shops, treat our brand or talk about our brand. And definitely the day that we do start, because we're not oblivious, it might come a day that we're gonna have to maybe have our own stores, which would be the dream later on. But if we do end up going into retail stores, we would need to do the proper training. We need to have, make people, I would visit a lot of the places that are holding our product. I want to make sure that, the perception is the same online as it is offline. And that's the challenge. And it's a business on its own. And when retailers are asking for 50, 60% margin or split, it doesn't make any sense, right? So
Mm.
why would we do that, right? So especially in the business model that we have. So we've almost went into a pretty large one, and we pulled out last minute because we said we're not doing ourselves like we're looking too short. We need to be patient, and we need to build this the way we said we were going to build it from day one.
Wow. Yeah, and I'm sure it's flattering as all hell to be approached by bigger retail brands, but I think it's yeah, to have the wherewithal to sit back and say, we're
It,
gonna finish out the goal.
it gave us listen, it gave us that confidence where it's like, okay, we have something.
Hmm.
So now it's a question of let's not get too excited when times are good and not too low when times are bad. I mean, that's another quote from one of my favorite actors, Robert De Niro, but definitely that's the truth, right? We've had highs where we celebrate, but like we don't go on a 3 day vendor celebration. It's like uh
Right.
it's like 15 minutes, half an hour, maybe an hour. Well, we're like,
Bring some like cookies into the office or something.
yeah, more now that we're a team of 16, 17, but less when it was just the four of us, right? Because it's like we had a long way to go. So like if we're gonna start like obviously it's nice to pat ourselves in the back, but I think what we do most and which is great is let's say one of the team members or co-founders does something well, the others will compliment and be like, good job. Like
Mm,
we appreciate that. But it's less about individualism and more about like a team spirit. And we try to create that every single day at the office. Like we don't we don't hire anybody, remote. We do have some. They're not even employees; they're just remote workers because they're contractual.
mm,
But anybody that's employed for Manmade works at the office. We have an environment where it's open, where it's contributing, where it's like there's a vibe. Like when you walk into our office, there's a vibe. There's something being built, and it's
hmm.
something about having that human touch or that human person next to you that is so valuable.
Influential.
And
Yeah.
yeah, in the beginning, right? You need that. You need that. Unless you're like a software engineer or a tech company that, just a bunch of software engineers working together, I guess you could have your Slack channels open and just full concentration. But there's a lot happening throughout the day where if we would have to like message every single time things happen and then one guy's not at his computer at that moment, it just creates that it's too slow to work. We're big on working collaboratively together.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I think that's a great note to end on. Just being, there's never too little appreciation to share with teammates, especially when you're um, in that mindset of, you are grinding it out, making things happen. I do always love to open up the space if there's anything you want to share, like an exciting promotion or exciting marketing initiative that you all have coming up. Um, when this episode will be airing in late November. Love to do that before we sign off.
Yeah, I mean, we do have like a gift a gift box that's coming out in the new year. Sorry, in the like soon, in the next couple of
Probably,
weeks
yeah, in
for
the
the
next couple of weeks.
holidays. Um, but I know that most of your listeners are probably entrepreneurs or business owners or someone who's aspiring to open their own business.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there once upon a time listening to different podcasts and getting inspired or understanding how things are done or how other entrepreneurs did it to get to the point where they got because it is a very high like a high mountain to climb. Um, and I'm not done climbing it by all means. However, the getting to 0 to 1, in my opinion, is harder than doing the 1 to 100,
Mm.
right? So that's really hard. Um, And what helped us, and it still helps us, is being aligned. Twice a year, at the beginning of the year, in the middle of the year, we do offsites, the co-founders. We revisit our goals. We reverse engineer, saying, okay, we want to get to this point on sales, for example. Okay, how are we going to hit this? Who's doing what? And then we mark that down, and then we go into tech, and then we go finance, and then company culture, and so on and so forth, operations, and so on and so forth, forecasting. And then from all those big goals, well, then we put quadrants. Anthony takes care of this, Bertle that, Phil this, Rob this, and all the employees have their own quadrants, so everyone knows what they are responsible for, and that's revisited once a month, and then twice a week. The four co-founders, the four of us, we work late. We work on the business instead of in the business. So what I'm
Mm.
trying to say is there's no tricks. There's no. It's just hard work, organization, being disciplined and consistent. So mark it down, write it down, visualize, and just keep pushing forward and keep going and keep going. And you are going to get kicked in the nuts, no pun intended. But once that happens, you just got to be able to take it and keep going, because anything is possible. And as long as you have that will to do it, you can get it done. So anybody listening that's thinking about an idea, you know, just do it. Like we spoke about this in the earlier parts of this podcast. Get the product to a point where you feel is really good. Get your marketing down packed and just get to market, and then gather that data and keep tweaking till you build something where, okay, I'm at a point where I can scale, and now you put marketing dollars behind it to scale it to where you need to be, and then you'll get there.
Yeah, I love it. And when you do get kicked, you'll have your man-made boxer briefs on to protect you, to help you through it. So you'll be all good. But I love that advice. Seriously. It's been an absolute joy to get to learn and just get to chat with you through this podcast, Anthony. So thank you for making the time. It's the best part of my day.
Thank you. I really appreciate being on this podcast, and your vibes and your positivity, your smile is contagious. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh. That's going to make me blush. So I'll pause the recording. Thank you again.
Thank you.